Yeah, well, everybody's here early. Guess everybody's raring to go in the new fiscal year.
That's right.
Let's get to it.
Thanks.
I think we're ready to,
Recording in progress.
thank you. Calling to order the August 2024 meeting of the Federated City Employees Retirement System. We'll start with a roll call. Vice Chair Jennings,
Here.
Trustee Abbott,
Here.
Trustee Avasti,
Here.
Trustee Chandra,
Here.
Trustee Faulkner,
Here.
Trustee Linder,
Here.
and the chair is here. We have a full house. This is not a hybrid meeting, so all votes will be by raising our hands. Thank you.
Thank you.
Orders of the day, we have none. Wave Sunshine, we have none. We don't need to qualify anybody appearing, any trustees on Zoom. Great. Dang, we're almost done. I guess the first order of business is moving into a closed session. So hopefully you didn't get too situated. Let us get up and move.
Recording stopped.
We're going to be paused for just a moment until Mark returns. So if anybody has anything they want to take care of, now's a great time. Sure. Okay, are they? Okay. Okay, we're going to be back in session.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. At this point, we will take any public comments on those items that are under the jurisdiction of this board, but which are not on today's agenda. Is there anybody online waiting to speak? There are none. Is anyone here waiting to speak? Seeing none, we will proceed with the consent calendar. Do we need a motion and vote on that? Okay, is there a motion to accept the consent calendar?
So moved.
A motion from trustee Linder, second?
I second.
We have a second from Vice Chair Jennings. Any discussion? Seeing none, we vote. Okay, it's approved. Moving forward. Death and survivorship, we will have a moment of silence for those who have served the city and who have passed. Thank you. Moving forward to item 3, investments, an oral update from our CIO, Mr. Polani.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning. We don't have any agenda items under investments for this board meeting. I do have some numbers that I would like to share with you as of day before fiscal year to date. We're up 42 basis points for the pension plan.
Is it
Yeah,
up 42?
42 basis points. And healthcare was up 47 basis points. The month to date, I think you're surprised at the up. The month to date
Yeah.
we're down 80 basis points,
Okay.
but we will start the clock on July 1st. It's more convenient looking at these numbers.
Okay.
But for fiscal year ending June 30th, so the Fed was at 9.71%, and healthcare was at 9.43%. And so it was very strong performance, better than our discount rate.
Okay.
And so, yeah, very strong numbers last year. And of course, that is because of good asset allocation. And those decisions are made by the board. So full credit to the board, our consultants, and our staff. And to Roberto, our outgoing CEO. What a way to end your career at San Jose. Great returns.
Thank you for
Okay.
Yes.
And I understand our backward-looking 5-year annualized rate of return is something like 8.5%, so,
That's right. I think I shared that with you. I don't
Mhm.
have it handy. Yeah.
Okay.
But
So
if
again,
anybody needs it, please get in touch with me.
a very nice-looking 5 years.
Yeah, and yes.
Great, thank you. Any questions from trustees? Any questions from the public? Okay, hearing none, we will move to item 4, there's no old business. Item 5, new business, an oral update, and I'm saying this for the last time, from our CEO, Mr. Pena.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everyone. You are correct, my last board update. Just a couple of things in terms of staff. Starting last month in July, we now brought to the team Tram Hume. Tram actually was working with us on the contract before. She's now a permanent analyst for the health team on the benefits area. Wanted to remind you that the retirement connection for the month of June was actually published and distributed last month. You should have received it by now. The office will be closed Monday, September the 2nd for the observance of Labor Day. And lastly, wanted to let you know, you all probably knew Cheryl Parkman, who was our city liaison with the boards. She actually left the city last month, actually in June, to seek employment, I believe now in city Los Gatos. And having said that, I want to welcome, and he's sitting with the audience, our new city liaison, which is Bill Gold. Bill, welcome. Good to see you. And he will now be our new liaison with the city. So he's looking forward to working with all of you. So once again, good to see you, Bill, and welcome. That concludes my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from trustees or from the public? Well, I'll just conclude by thanking Roberto for 11 years of service to the plan. Your leadership, guidance, and friendship has been much appreciated. I know we had a formal retirement party for you where we expressed these sentiments before, but this may be your last official act as in terms of your relationship with the board.
Yes.
Next month, our new CEO will be in place and will be reporting from this seat that you currently sit in.
Correct. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's much appreciated. It's really been my pleasure and an honor to serve all the plan members of the Federated plan and to work with each one of you and prior trustees of your board. I believe wholeheartedly on the benefit that the city offers and that we, with your support, administer every day. And, I have no doubt that obviously you have made the right decision. I know you have an item later where you'll be approving the contract for the new CEO that we're going to welcome. Wish you the best of luck and much success. And I will be available, obviously, in that transition, working with him. And in months that are coming, obviously, things transition and things need to be worked. I'll be available if there are any questions or any way that I can help. So, again, thank you very much. It's been my pleasure, and I wish everyone success and a lot of health in the future. So thank you very much.
And we appreciate your being available to us. You have great institutional memory that we will be calling upon, so your availability is much appreciated. At this late date, I was hoping you could finally admit that you prefer the Federated Board to Police and Fire. Apparently, you're not willing to make that commitment. Still not doing that. Okay, whatever.
Can I just also personally thank Roberto? It's been 8 years. I appreciate you onboarding me and helping me when I was drinking from a fire hose to learn how to. The actuarial stuff still is a little bit beyond me, but I got a lot closer thanks to you. So, and thanks for the friendship as well.
And I would also like to thank you for your service. Thank you for being advisor and helping me. I also want to recognize your years of experience and expertise and reputation across the country, not just California, with CalPERS and the other organizations that you're part of, and how highly recognized you are in those. So thank you for that. I wish your wife luck. I wish you luck. And I hope you find enjoyment in your retirement and your next steps in your life. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, he's going from earthquakes to hurricanes.
Correct.
Right,
Yes.
right.
You literally pick your poison. Yeah.
So I would
Yeah,
just like
thank
to say thank you for making my first year really welcoming, and it's been great to know you, and I, again, just like the others, wish you the best as you move into your new ventures.
Thank you very much. It is much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just like to add thank you, Roberto, for being present and you know, we had testing times and you took ownership and the way you resolved all the conflicts we had. I really appreciate all your efforts.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if there's no other commentary, no other public comments, we'll move to the next item, oral update from the City Council Liaison. Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. Good morning. I also want to add my well wishes. Roberto, thank you again for your service to our city and to the retirement boards and the pension plans. And we wish you all the best in your retirement.
Thank you, Councilmember. Much appreciated. Thank you.
So the updates that I have are brief. The MOU with the retirement boards was approved by council. I think you probably all know that already, but just
So it's
say it
nice
on
to
the
hear from
record.
you.
And then Jennifer Shembri, so in addition to Cheryl Parker moving on, Jennifer Shembri has moved up. So she is still here and promoted to deputy city manager. So she'll be doing both functions for the time being. And that's, we've only met a couple of times, so we didn't put anything on the ballot as a city last week. And it was a pretty brief meeting this week, so no other updates.
Any questions from trustees?
Just thank you, council member, for negotiating the MOU with us. It beats the heck out of a ballot measure.
I agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to thank the negotiating team from Fed, trustees Linder and Jennings, who worked with the two city council liaisons, including Ms. Davis and Ms. Davis, for concluding the MOU. I think it's a positive, it's a win-win for the city and ORS. Certainly the alternative was much worse. Any other questions or comments from trustees? Any from the public? Hearing none, we'll move to the next item, discussion and action to authorize CEO to negotiate a Fourth Amendment with ExamWorks.
We have staff presenting.
Okay,
this.
staff?
Hi, Sandra Castellano, Benefits Manager. So before you is a request to authorize the CEO to negotiate and execute a Fourth Amendment to our agreement with ExamWorks. ExamWorks does the independent medical examinations, which are a required part of our disability application review process. The amendment is to increase the not-to-exceed amount by $135,000 to $335,000 total through the term of the contract, which ends 12/31/25 next year. We have funding allocated in the budget for this already, so no budget action is required or requested. And this will allow us to process an additional 30 disability applications, well, up to 30 applications through the term of the contract, if all goes smoothly. And I think that's it.
Okay, any questions from trustees?
No, I just wanted to say that I think that's a move in the right direction to get that backlog down.
Absolutely. So do we have a metric, how much do we pay on average per application?
Yeah, we're paying about $4,500 per application,
Mhm.
and some of them are 9,000, some of them are 2,000, so.
Okay, so I'll entertain a moment to approve the contract extension.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
We have a motion from trustee Linda, a second?
I'll second it.
Second from trustee Chandra. Any discussion, any public comment? We vote in person, all in favor? Approved unanimously.
Oh, it was fun having everybody say who was.
Yeah, no, Julie, you don't know how much voice you're saving from me. I call out everybody's name every single time, so I really appreciate your being down here.
Everybody's very happy that I
Yes,
came.
Yes. We should put you up in a hotel overnight if necessary.
Yeah, yes, that doesn't happen.
Okay. Item 5D, discussion action on adoption of a city non-management performance program policy.
Good morning, Chair.
Who will present on this?
I will, Barbara Heyman, Deputy
Okay.
Director for ROS.
Barbara?
So at the February 2024 board meeting, you board adopted the city's non-management performance program policy 3.3.3. In June 2024, the city revised that policy. The majority of those revisions stem from an audit, and key updates include a clarification of what to do when an employee changes positions or classifications during the rating period, specification of what timeliness means, and a specification that part-time employees should receive appraisals annually, and that they now need to be submitted to HR for tracking. And staff are recommending the adoption of this updated policy.
Okay. Any questions from trustees or comments? So, hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the,
I so motion to approve.
okay, thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from trustee Jennings, a second from trustee Abbott. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we can vote. All in favor? Very good, thank you. Item 5E, discussion action on the schedule of board and standing committee meetings for 2025.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'll take care of that one.
Sure.
It's pretty straightforward. These are the schedule of you 12 or 11 board meetings for calendar year 2025 on the third Thursday of every month. And along with that, at least for now, recommended committee meetings, as they usually are every 3 months. That not to say that if a committee meeting have to be, those days are flexible. If they need to be changed, either brought up or pushed forward, it can be done. But for now, that's what we're recommending for you to adopt for the upcoming calendar year 2025.
I have one question.
Sure.
So I noticed that the committee meetings that are after our meetings start at 12:30, and I'm wondering if that's normal for them to start that late, or if they would sometimes start earlier?
There's flexible, you can change that.
Yeah, we use 12:30 as a time. You could use 12 o'clock. It really depends on the prior meeting. Like today was 12:30, but because it's a shorter meeting, we will start the audit committee at 11:30. Yeah, but for purposes of their scheduling, we use 12:30 just as a start time.
Roberto, is it fair to say, other than the board meetings, which for years have been the third Thursday at 8:30, the rest is flexible based on the committees?
Correct.
Yeah, so just
Okay.
in the interest of efficiency.
Okay, so we can entertain a motion
I'll-
to approve?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the calendar.
I'll
Okay.
second.
So we have a motion from trustee Chandra, a second from trustee Abbott. Any further discussion, any public comment? Seeing none, we can vote. All in favor? Schedule is approved. 5F, discussion action to approve for the chair to execute an employment contract negotiated for the new CEO. So we have an attachment which shows the contract with our new CEO hire, Mr. John Flynn, who was here today. Any questions or comments about the contract?
I have one question.
Yes.
And this is just for my edification. I
Mhm.
noticed that in addition to the vacation that's granted, that he will also get executive hours of like 48 hours on
Mhm.
top of that. Is that standard practice for the city?
Yes.
Correct. It is a standard practice with
Okay.
the city. Yes.
That was my only question.
And across public lands across the country, it's
Yeah.
pretty standard.
Okay.
Just not San Jose State.
That's right.
It's a public entity. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion then to approve the contract.
I so moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
So we have a motion from trustee Abbott, a second from trustee Linder. Any further discussion?
Just want to thank Anurag for representing us in those negotiations.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
why I didn't motion.
Okay, very good. I was going, after the vote, I was going
Spent
to,
hours with Mr. Flynn.
I was going to thank our negotiating committee. So that was trustee Chandra from Federated and
Gardnier.
our trustee Gardnier from Police and Fire. So they did a lot of work to bring that to fruition, so we do appreciate that. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion, any public comments? All those in favor? Okay, I'm sure Mr. Flynn is gratified to see that his contract was approved, having been approved by police and fire.
Can I make a post-approval comment? It was, you know, when you're across the table from someone, you learn a lot about them, and it was a great experience with John. It's sort of like you play offense, defense against one another, and then you end up on the same team, and you see what you're getting. So, very excited.
Okay, great.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I just want
Please.
to welcome John. He attended the Police and Fire Board meeting. We are going to be working together for the next few weeks once you start on the 26th. We actually schedule a meeting with the staff this afternoon after the audit committee meeting. So you don't know this, John, but staff has been dying to meet you, and you know, they're probably watching as we speak right now. And I told them everything you told me to tell them, that you were very approachable, very easy to work with, you know, but it's up to you now to let them know that that's the case. So I just wanted to, on behalf of the staff and the plan members, to welcome you to the head of the Office of Retirement Services, and wish you the best of luck, and let you know that obviously I will do whatever I can and it's within my power to make that transition smoothly and help you in anything I can. So good luck to you.
And I guess, in case not everybody knows, I think your official first day will be August 26th, Monday. And that at our next board meeting, sitting in this chair, will be the new CEO, Mr. Flynn. And at that time, I will ask you to introduce yourself. So we could do that today, but let's leave that to the next meeting.
And, Mr. Chair, I booked him in to meet with the San Jose Retired Employees Association in October.
Okay, excellent.
Same
Okay.
thing.
So he's going to be drinking out of the fire hose, meeting all kinds of people, getting full sun exposure here in San Jose. So we'll look forward to that. So welcome, and look forward so much to working with you. And to that, we come to 5G, which is discussion and action on the development of a CEO transition plan with Cortex Consulting. And this is, quote, in lieu of a CEO performance evaluation, which we have chosen not to do for the prior fiscal year.
Is there an action item? I was confused by it.
Well, I think we're approving the development of a transition plan.
If I may just jump in. So
Sure.
our JPC charter provides for the performance evaluation and what to do with a sitting CEO. It is silent on what to do when there's a transition from CEO to CEO. So it does require action on behalf of the board to approve a transition plan. I will say that the next follow-up item on item 5H is to appoint a liaison that would help the transition. Police and Fire appointed one, and I can address that when we get to that item.
Mhm.
So we're authorizing someone to develop a transition plan, but
Right.
we don't have a transition plan.
We don't have a formal transition plan. We're authorizing, this would authorize Cortex Consulting to work with us to develop
Okay.
a specific written plan of what we want to do, what we want to achieve, whatever would be incorporated into that plan. So we don't,
Okay, so then I'll make a motion that we approve an action plan with Cortex for CEO transition.
Can I ask a question?
absolutely.
Do we have an estimate for how much it might cost us?
I was thinking that, but I assumed it's under the existing contract.
And
Because
Maytac, you're nodding yes, so that's
Yes,
yes?
so
It's in lieu of the
because
other.
it's in lieu of the performance evaluation that's already covered under our contract, this would be in place of that.
So this
Okay.
is paid for already, as it were.
That's
Okay.
because it's in lieu, and I'll second the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion from trustee Chandra, second from trustee Linder. Any further discussion? Walter, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, I
Yes.
just wondered if you had any comment on this?
No, looking forward to saying goodbye to Roberto and meeting Mr. Flynn and helping hand off the baton from one to the other CEO. It's kind of a team process. I think of it as a decathlon, and the first event in this 10-step process is really just over the 90 or 100 days, whatever is decided. Make sure the transition meets everyone's expectations. The only comment anyways, I won't go on into that other than I've shared a few thoughts with this chair, and I'll share others as appropriate in the future. Looking forward to being involved.
So I do have a question. What's
Mhm.
the process for the transition plan? Is there something that the board needs to do next, or is that something that you'll develop with Roberto and the staff and John, or
I
how's it
think
work?
this will be this process of discussing this with Cortex, with Walter, and developing a
Yeah.
written plan. We don't have a lot of muscle memory here. We haven't
No.
done this in 11 years.
No.
I assume it'll start with the JPC and with the ad hoc that's.
Right, and
Yeah.
I'm sure the two chairs will weigh in, so we're a little bit in uncharted waters, but this is
Cortex-
not something that other plans and other organizations haven't done before,
Right.
so
And
we
it
will,
doesn't need to come back to the board.
not necessarily. I think,
Okay.
unless we're doing something way outside the realm of
Okay.
normality. Yeah, so we will develop a plan.
Yeah.
Some kind of information
Yeah.
should go back to the board, probably.
Mhm. Any other questions about, so we do have a motion on the table to approve consulting with Cortex to develop this plan. Is there any other comment from trustees before we vote?
I second it.
It's already been seconded, but you can
Oh.
vote in favor.
I'm voting in favor.
Any public comment? Anybody online? No. So we can vote, all in favor? It is approved, so we will have a plan. And then finally, 5H, a discussion action to appoint a member of an ad hoc liaison to assist the transition plan for the new CEO. And as Maytac has informed us, Police and Fire, of course, they always come ahead of us, has already appointed trustee Garnier
Right.
to be their representative liaison to this ad hoc committee. Personally, I can see, 4 credible candidates from amongst us to serve. I think our 2 member trustees, Trustee Avasti, Trustee Jennings, have a lot of city of experience that would be very informative to the new CEO and would guide him in terms of the ways and means by which the city operates and doesn't operate. At the same time, I think trustees Linder and Chandra have already been working with the new CEO and have developed a kind of a rapport and a good working relationship with them, with him. Trustee Linder, of course, has got great experience on working with the management and knows a lot of the city players quite well and has a broad experience working with other cities around the state as a consultant. And our trustee Chandra, I think, probably has more experience onboarding CEOs as a venture capital investor and onboarding and mentoring CEOs in high value organizations than probably any of us. So I think all 4 of those are potential candidates for this liaison role. And with that said, I open it up to any other further discussions or nominations or observations.
My observation would be, please don't get, you're next to me so you can punch me. We get the city and we get Andrew and Mark did a fantastic job through the JPC, getting us to the point where we were able to make the offer with John. He has a lot of interaction with John. I think all of that relationship, continuing it forward, and then the relationships he has with the city, and I know someone who once worked for Mark may not even be aware of this, who described him as her best mentor in her career, and she has left the city about 8 years ago, so I've got that little piece of propaganda to use against him.
Well, before we get too far down the agenda, Mr. Linder, would you be willing to serve in such a role?
I'd be willing to serve as long as I have Julie as my advisor.
Okay.
Well, then,
And of course, I think Mr. Flynn will be having discussions with all of us individually, so we will all have input, we will all have interactions with him in terms of our individual perspectives, our guidance on what's going to happen. I think I, as chair especially, will have a lot of interaction with him. So in
I
case
think so.
anybody
Well-
thought for a second they wanted to appoint me, I'm already going to have a lot of input. So-
I mean, Julie it sounds like you're a big vote of confidence for Julie also, but Julie, you're leaving soon, right? So the 10 steps, this could go, the ad hoc could go longer than a year, so.
So
would that-
actually, just to Sorry to interrupt. So I forgot, I neglected to mention that for police and fire, when they did appoint the ad hoc liaison for Trustee Gardenier, it was for, as follows, to be the ad hoc liaison for the new CEO transition up to 90 days from the first date of city employment. I
Okay.
apologize. I
Should
forgot
be
to
leading less than
mention that.
but it's up to
So
them.
Okay.
I think the important thing to understand is what we want to accomplish with this. I think Mark brings a very good understanding of management, of the interplay at a senior staff, executive, council liaison role. And so I think that is very critical as well. I think what I bring is an understanding of operations, of working within the finance, budget, HR role, the unions. So I think I offer that perspective. So I think it really depends on what the board wants to provide to John from a federated standpoint. And that's, you know.
But I think we need both a lot of the operational as well as some of the kind of global big picture thing. I would have preferred, frankly, if we were nominating 2 members.
You could do that.
And police and fire.
Could we
We-
do,
You could, yeah.
Well, that would make us unequal, police and fire. I know they would not be happy
Yeah.
with that. So
so,
if they had gone that route, I would have been happy. They haven't, so I think we need to match them 1 for 1, as it were, because that's just going to confuse things with them.
Mark's suggestion is one of them is the lead and the other is informal advisor.
yes, that's
Um,
what I was.
Yeah, what have we called that in the past on committees? There was sort of a
Alternate?
alternate. Okay. That's one possibility, if people are open to that. Trustee Avasti, you haven't spoken about your interest and/or availability.
I
Or-
think Mark and Julie is a good combination for the transition plan.
Okay. So with that, I am open to, if someone wants to formulate a proposal, a motion.
I'll make a motion to appoint Mark as an ad hoc liaison to assist in the transition plan with Julie as an alternate.
Very good. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from, we have a motion from trustee Avasti, a second from trustee Abbott. Any further discussion? Any public comments? Seeing none, we will vote. No comment? We have to always check with online to see if there's any comments there. All in favor of the motion? Opposed? Liaisons are appointed.
Thank you to Julie and Mark. They will
Yes.
be
I
great.
take it it's the same 90 days. that police
I didn't
and fire-
realize
Yeah.
it was 90.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that
And I'm
myself.
not even sure it'll last 90 days.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I thought,
okay.
with the way Walter described 10 steps, I thought this might go on for a year,
Yeah.
so, okay.
Yeah,
That was
I'm hoping we can have a transition plan established within 90 days.
Julie
we'll
and I have
execute
already
against.
started talking about.
That's
some
true,
of
it's only the
things
plan, it's only establishing the plan, not the plan itself.
Yeah.
But the other is, that's where I am.
And of course, your liaison work will be the usual supplemental increase in pay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Investment committees. Oral update from the chair of the investment committee.
There's no update, because I updated everyone coming out of the April meeting in May,
Mhm.
and we're meeting next week, so in September, there should be some update.
Great. Audit committee, trustee Avasti.
The last meeting was on May 16th, so I already provided the update in the last board meeting. The next meeting is today after this.
Okay. Governance committee, trustee Linder.
We have 2 items today, following actions, in some cases, following actions by this board. But the first item is work from Cortex with some of the changes that we talked about, and if you can go through the reports, you can see them highlighted. Changes that he's been making based on our conversations with the Joint Governance Committee and what he's.
Well, I think next on 6.3B is, first we're talking about the travel policy.
No, the second item is where you were directed to go back to the city's finance department and officer, and that's the second, at least what's in front of me.
Okay.
That's the second piece of work, and we have that feedback from city finance in the second
Okay,
report.
so that's 6.3C
Yeah.
on my agenda.
Yeah, so B is completed, and we
Okay.
did receive the input from the finance department, and the committee incorporated that in the updated version, and that's before you this morning for approval. And
Okay.
then the second item is the one that I think Mark is referring to,
Okay.
that is
Oh, I
work
see.
by Cortex.
Reports
Cortex received the input
Mhm.
from staff, from our office, and is pending taking now. Police and Fire approved it with some recommended changes, and now it's before you for approval. Once we have the most recent version, the next step is to actually schedule a meeting with finance again for procurement to make sure that they have any comments, and then hopefully bring
Okay.
them back if there are any suggested changes to you for the September meeting.
Okay, so let's quickly dispense then with 6.3B on the approving the travel policy and the trustee educational travel. Is there anything noteworthy on that that we should have our attention drawn to?
Yes, actually, there are a couple changes. One
Okay.
of them is these are all feedback from the finance director at a very high level. One is that we are limiting total educational conferences to 5 per year. A second is that we are going to honor the city's travel ban. So to the extent the city has a travel ban for certain jurisdictions, we would abide by that travel ban.
Mhm.
Currently, I believe the 2 jurisdictions that were noted by the finance director were Mississippi and North Carolina, but that may be subject to change. And that's noted in paragraph 19 of the revised travel policy. Another change that the committee recommended and accepted based on the finance director's comments was that if you are a city employee who is also a trustee and is traveling as a trustee and paid with trustee funds to fund the travel, that the reimbursement shall be through the city's e-way system, but you would still be considered a trustee and not an employee for the purposes of that travel for duty of loyalty purposes. And fourth, they're requesting to include a travel request form to be completed prior to travel. So that's also included in the policy.
I have 2 questions.
Go.
The first is 5 total, meaning the one, like SACers and the ones that, so that plus any non-approved. It's
So
5 total. It's
5
not
total,
five-
right.
five, Okay.
Before we had a list of pre-approved
Yeah.
programs that you could exceed 5, but there was a limit up to like 3 outside of the pre-approved
Right.
list. So now they reined it all into just 5. To the extent you want to go more than 5, it would have to come before the board for additional action.
Okay. And then will we get reimbursed faster through E-way?
I think that's only for the city employees. So I can't, I
Oh,
can't
wait a
say.
minute, wait a minute. I need to tell you, getting reimbursed through E-way is not fast.
Okay, very good to know.
I was gonna say, I
Right?
believe there's some city openings, so if you did want to apply.
And
Okay.
That's one of the areas we're going to be working with John in the onboarding to make sure that those reimbursements are done quicker. And he promised me he would take care of that. So, way to go, John.
I wish him luck.
Trustee
Yeah.
Faulkner just lost his free trips back home to North Carolina.
Trustee
I'm sure
Abbott?
everything went smoothly in New York.
No, even if the travel is pre-approved, we now have, it looks like we have to submit the travel request, and it goes to the CEO, not to the board.
Yes.
Yeah. And I assume that the staff kind of fills that out for us, and, because that's what they've done in the past.
Yes.
So- Right,
Yeah.
so this is just a policy at a very high level. In terms of the procedures for implementation, that would be up to staff.
That's right.
Okay.
But it does align us with the city better than we were, and I think we need
Okay.
to do that.
So alignment is good.
I'll make a motion to approve both.
Okay.
Can I do an omnibus?
Sure, why not?
One at a time.
One at,
Okay.
oh,
And I'll
I
second.
tried. I'm an efficiency maven. I'll make a motion for the travel policy.
Okay.
To
so
approve.
To approve, that's 6.3B1, which is the joint board travel policy. So we have a motion from trustee Chandra. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from trustee Abbott. Any further discussion?
I'm sorry, just to clarify, 6.3B1 is the memo from the finance department. 6.3B2 would be the policy itself.
Oh, there you go.
That's really the action
only
we're
one.
talking about.
I see. Okay, so there is only one action
Yes.
for
One
6.3B.
For the
Yes,
travel.
it's just
Okay.
6.3B.
Okay, hopefully your motion will,
My motion
Is
was
for
for
that?
6.3B.
and I'm sure the second is similar. Any further discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor? Okay, now we get to 6.3C, which is the Cortex memo that Mark was referring to.
And you have the third draft of
Mhm.
the policies
For
for
goods and
procurement
services.
and contracting
Okay.
of goods, based on all of our conversations.
Okay,
And Mark, did you
Yes.
say that there was a change that police and fire wanted on this?
Well, that's what I heard.
I think Roberto.
Yeah, I
said
mentioned that, and I'm gonna, I don't remember the specific change, but I'm confident that Council Chin made, with her notes, she made remember what the change or suggestions police and fire made. Did you remember the
I don't have
specific-
all the specifics. They had a series of changes they presented at their last meeting that Cortex was to incorporate into this version that's presented to you. What I can tell you is that the police and fire meeting, what they did was recommended red line changes to the document to then be sent to Federated to review, and then have the document come back to police and fire for review again before it goes to the city manager
So we
and the
can't
finance
approve-
director.
So we have nothing to approve today.
Well, it's to review those, the changes
So
that are moving
those
forward.
P and F suggested red line changes are
in
in the
here.
current red line document.
They should be.
Okay.
Is Walter, are you still here at the meeting, Walter?
I am, yes, can you hear me okay?
Yep,
Yes, can you confirm if those changes were provided to you and they're added to the document that we have for the agenda?
The quick answer is yes, unless I've missed something as an oversight, but I don't think I have.
Okay.
And just to be clear on the memo, because everything's happening so fast, there are a number of issues that I hadn't had a chance to reflect. Good comments from staff that I wanted to make sure we incorporated. Some of their good comments will be reflected in procedures, which don't require board approval, so they're noted in the memo. Other items may have been minor, so there were, so the memo is important in that it describes some of the changes that are not, that have been made and some that will be made, so that we can give the city a pretty clean copy for comment. And then, of course, that's where we're at.
It was
Go ahead.
just
Go
a
ahead.
sorry to interrupt you, Walter. When I went through it, and I'm trying to go through it again now, they all seem like minor changes. I didn't see anything
Yeah.
substantial.
I'm flipping through it myself right now. I
Yes.
don't see anything
'Cause-
substantive.
Okay.
Haven't gotten to the end of the document.
So I do have a question, Walter. In regards to this policy, I heard from staff, are we actually adding a different process to go out, like to bid or RFI, RFQ, all these things? So is ORS taking on and creating a different way of procuring than what the city is already doing and through their bid process, and all that?
The quick answer is, and I'll let the deputy director comment if I missed something or misinterpreted, is to the extent that we can make the processes similar, we've tried to do that. But at the end of the day, the board has specific authority to approve certain vendors that exist in the current vendor policy. All we've done is basically lifted those responsibilities and roles and authorities to this new draft document. We've introduced, when we drafted this, we took into account the internal auditor's thoughts that maybe look at some other plans like OSER's, Orange County, and we reflected practices, for example, from that fund and others into the draft policy. We drew the line, though. If you look at the policy, there's really three phases or three elements to it. There's procuring, like doing a search for a vendor. Then there's contracting with them. And then there's ultimately monitoring. The monitoring aspect is something we envisioned putting in here, but we didn't think it was a priority in the first draft. So that third phase is not in here, but it will be, say, in a year from now, when we review the policy in a year. The one thing that's not in here is procedures. Those are not board approved, but it's important as we develop them to make sure that we don't reinvent the wheel, and to the extent that we can leverage and follow the exact same procedures that would otherwise be used for contracts governed by the city policy, then we would do that. For example, one of the things that we have to do through the procedures is identify these contract templates that we would use. So that's to be developed as a next step, but we'd like to do that, I think, sooner rather than later to facilitate any discussions, dialogues we have with the city, to make sure we've addressed all key risks. Hopefully that's helpful.
Yeah, so Trustee Jennings, I think the one that you're maybe referring to is a procurement process called invitation for bid, the IFB.
Oh, okay.
Which is not a term that the city uses and would require a process to be built.
So Walter, can you explain that more, the invitation for
so
bid?
so, for example, the quick answer is that IFB process is, the details of it are not written yet in the procedures, but other things equal, it would follow a similar RFP process, which is reserved for bigger ticket items, if you will. And so there's a distinction in the draft policy based on the process to be followed, depending on its materiality, say, so, and the nature of the services. So the IFB one is one of those ones where we try to mirror the language that another fund used, and it distinguished between different types of services in terms of, say, the commodityness of the service. You know, whether it was bespoke services or not. So it's an area that we could, like, we wouldn't follow a substantially different process. The only material difference between all the processes is who has the authority to do what, and what are the steps to be done. And again, a lot of the steps get into a lot of details that the board shouldn't be involved in, and those are to be written in procedures. And we specifically identified early in the process of developing these procedures and policies to first have the policy approved, and then the procedures would naturally follow.
All right, so I guess the last piece on this is the reason one of the major reasons is the city wanted us to try to get in alignment with them and follow their process, because they're paying the bills. So when these bills go through their accounts payable, they're looking to see that it meets what the city requires. You know, have you done this? Have you done that? Is it filed in the clerk's office? Do you have whatever? So I just want, I mean, there's a lot to this, and I just want to make sure that we are doing that, that we are meeting that, so that we will have ease of use within retirement services, and the staff in retirement services understands how to follow that, and we don't create a sub system that finance then has to say, what are you doing? No, that's, so that's my only concern. And as long as we are in sync, then I'm cool. Yeah.
And the other comment I would make is, the quick answer is that's why we want to make sure we have the meetings with finance to identify any potential issues that need to be resolved. But again, we don't want overlap in multiple policies and procedures. So the notion of payment and processing wouldn't be part of this policy, because this is about selecting the process for selecting a vendor, contracting them, number two, and third, monitoring them to determine whether you want to renew them at some point. So payment is a separate thing, and we'll make sure that to the extent that we need to in the procedures related to the policies or the vendors governing under this policy, to the extent that we can, we will make sure that the payment processing aspect of it is identical, if not very similar, like, you know. And that's what we're working through with the deputy director, and then discussions with the city.
That was the whole goal of the work of the committee, right?
Yes.
Mark, yeah.
Yes.
So-
That's the goal of our work.
Walter, if I understand correctly, what you said is some aspects of this, the IFB procedure or contract templates, that's TBD. And I'm wondering if that, the fact that they're not yet formulated, is that something that needs to be formulated for us to comply with our MOU, which requires us to have achieved alignment with city policies by September 30th? Or is that something in excess of or outside of that MOU item?
I will defer to council on this, and I will start by saying that we will make sure that the policies and procedures under the scope of this work comply with the MOU. I've not seen the details of the MOU, but I'll collaborate with the deputy director and council to make sure that by September 30th, I understand that's the deadline, that we will comply. Having said that, I think staff has identified this notion that, as we are, because this is all new, we want some understanding that if there's any doubt, that there's a process in place to make sure that we're transparent about what we're doing and flagging it, and to the extent that something needs to be changed in policy or procedures, that we do so. I mean, the intent is to comply with good governance, good controls, and all that. So there's this recognition that everyone's working in good faith.
But the city
where we
already
all want to be.
has templates. They already have all this.
Okay, Council Chin, it looks like you wanted to weigh in on this?
Oh, I was just gonna remind the board, if you may recall from your June meeting, the board did adopt the city policy manual, chapter 5.1, regarding for the operations of ORS, and that applies to the procurement of goods and non-professional services. So this policy, just for clarification, would be for professional services that is not currently covered under the city policy. So it's trying to fill a gap for our internal operations for procurement.
All right.
Okay.
So I would like to raise one more thing.
All right.
Councilmember Davis, are you, so do you have any input on this? Because we're trying to be very collaborative and making sure that we meet, that you're involved and that you hear what we're trying to do. And what I'm hearing is that, and in some ways, professional services is a little more fluid within the city. I mean, we still follow through things. We have contracts. They get posted city clerk. We do service orders or different contracts or agreements. But do you have any issue with what's being proposed?
I'm sorry, I'll be honest, this is a level of detail that is beyond my scope, so I had kind of honestly tuned out. But I think that it would really be for city staff to weigh in on this, to see what their flexibility is.
That's why we're working with the finance department.
Okay, so once we get this signed off, then it's gonna go to finance. You'll sit down with finance, go over it with them, and if they're cool, then we go forward.
We should
Is
be
that
all
the
right.
plan?
I have
It
a
sounds
related
like
question.
Walter is working with city staff on this. But go ahead,
That's
Trustee
city staff,
Avasti.
not finance staff.
I have a related question. So the MOU states that any new policy needs to be submitted to the city administration for comment. So I'm wondering if this needs to go to the city administration before we approve?
So the motion, so the recommendation coming out of the Joint Governance Committee, which is subject to action here, is to approve this document to provide to the finance in the city for comment. It's not approval for our operations, but before we send something to the city, we wanted both boards to agree that this is the document and this is what we want to put before the
So we
city.
would approve now. If there were changes, then the police and fire would go first on whether they wanted to approve, and then we would go. But if there are no changes, this is
Right.
the final doc.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it is to catch that step that we haven't done before, which is to send what we're gonna do to finance in the city before we do it.
Okay.
Makes it 2 steps. I think that's smart.
So after that robust discussion, I lost track. Do we have a motion on the table yet?
No, I'm about to make
Okay.
one, though. I will make a motion that we approve the proposed internal RS policy for procurement and contracting for professional services.
Do we have a second to that?
Second?
We have a motion from trustee Chandra, second from trustee Linder. Any further trustee comments or questions? Any public comments? Seeing none, we will vote. All those in favor of the motion? It passes. On to the Disability Committee.
Well, I should say that our next meeting, which is September 19th, is the afternoon of this meeting,
Ah.
and it's a joint governance,
Okay, so you can resolve any
hopefully.
Issues
But it is a
together.
joint governance
Okay.
committee.
Great,
On to disability.
yes.
You saw some of our action that was on the consent this time,
Mhm.
and we have another one coming. We did approve at our last meeting another person to go to a disability retirement. It was pretty obvious. And we also took a look at a policy that we had put into place to try, a trial policy, which we were going to look at after 6 months, about how often we contact somebody we haven't heard from. And we learned how the impact of that, and we're looking at backing off of that a little. Trying to work. We have our first case coming up of somebody who didn't respond at all, even though we did all the responses,
Mhm.
the calls, the emails, and so on. So we'll kind of take a look at it again, but we want to see how much time is involved with that. How do people respond?
Okay.
What do they respond with? So we are working on that. And we've also continued to get the dashboard. We continue to get
Mhm.
other things that you'll see. And our next meeting, because I mistakenly booked to go to a conference September 3rd through the 5th, we're going to meet on September 9th at 1 o'clock.
Okay,
Which I'm not gonna be
It's, hopefully Matthew and I will be there.
Yeah.
we need at least two of you there.
So,
Okay, so we can do file and receive on this without any further
yes.
board
'Cause,
action?
there will be an action coming, but it'll be the next meeting.
Okay, so file and receive. Joint Personnel Committee, item 6.5.
Sure. Just look in the second row, the only man wearing a suit. That's the great work of the JPC over the last couple of months. That's my report.
Well, Trustee Linder has a jacket and tie. He's keeping up.
I said
No,
second
so
row.
Oh, second row.
He's back over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's not going to give Matthew and
All
I.
right. Yeah, he hasn't, well, Roberto always
It's,
held up our sartorial traditions.
Next meeting is TBD.
Okay.
Hopefully not for a long time.
Okay. All right, we have education and training. You've seen all the attachments. I think the SACRS conference is coming up.
Yes,
And-
and if I can make a plug, I know that you all have your ethics forms that you're signing, and that one of them is a requirement that you do your ethics training for compliance, which is the FPPC requirement. So the SACRS conference, I believe, does provide that certified training, so wanted to put that plug in case you are missing that certification.
Okay. I noticed, I looked at the SACRS, they have no agenda essentially other than the ethics training. So it's a little thin at this rather late date. Is the ethics training something we can do online? Do we have to go to SACRS to do this? or-
No, there may be online training for
There
that.
definitely is, because I
Yeah.
just got pinged and did it in the last
Oh,
week.
okay.
And every year it comes out. This year it came out late.
I didn't get any.
And then I actually have a question related to that. There was also cybersecurity training.
Yeah,
I
I'm
got
working my way through
bombarded.
that.
And they're monthly trainings, but I just got 6 months late, so I had to do 6 of them in one shot. So I don't know, maybe that's a
I
staff
should
question.
laugh.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
the same thing happened to me in terms of that cyber training, so it seems they've
We should
bunched
fix,
them.
we should
So
fix
the ethics
that.
Committees offer,
So,
training
so the
offered through the
cybersecurity
city?
I can't speak to because it's not a legal requirement as far as I'm aware. But the ethics training for a trustee is legally required and also required on your form.
And I'm just talking administratively, we should get that email out to trustees sooner, and then cyber, again, not addressing you, but this is my chance to address it with staff. It'd be nice to get the emails monthly, so you don't have 6 months' worth of cyber training that backs up and have
Thank
to do it
you.
in one shot.
Thank you, Trustee Sandra. Yes, I think the city has implemented a new process and included our new trustees. So I think that's why these are seem not timely. But going forward, we'll make sure that you get those on a monthly basis.
Great. And then you might want to get the ethics, whoever's responsible for the ethics, because it was due
Yeah.
September 3rd is what I
Was it? I wasn't
Or
pinged
is.
on ethics training, so hopefully I'm acting ethically at this moment, but I probably need more training.
Is there an email for that?
That
I
has to
don't
be
think-
filed annually, and
Oh.
you can't serve if you don't complete it and
Right.
submit the certificate. And there's a whole portal that you have to be I've been logged in for 8 years, so I know that.
Yeah.
But getting the
Yeah.
email last week with the notification that it's due by first or second week of September was a little.
Okay, so
surprising.
note to staff, it sounds like a lot of the trustees did not get a ping reminder to do the ethics training with a link to the correct online portal to make that happen.
Did
So,
you get that from the city clerk or from us? Or where do you get that
I-
email from?
Was it the clerk?
I don't pay attention.
I don't think it was. I'm just looking at the
No,
staff.
I'm pretty sure your office doesn't send it, but
Yeah.
could someone investigate?
Well, I just want to make sure that we reach out to the right office at the
Yeah.
city so
I think
that
it's the city
those
clerk.
emails are sent
When I
timely.
get back to my
Okay.
laptop, I'll
Thank you.
tell
so-
you.
sounds like city clerk thing.
Yeah, if there's some online thing, that would be nice.
And I've tried to do it when there is a regular conference, so I did last year when we were down in
Okay.
Palm Springs area.
All right.
Took the training.
Yeah, I've always
Okay.
done it online.
All right, I've usually done it online, okay. So we have a variety of training opportunities, which will be approved under our new travel policy. Any proposed agenda items for next month's meeting? Seeing none, we are adjourned.
Can I just make one, sorry, Walter Viola from Cortex here, Chair, Mr. Chair?
Sure,
Just a
sure.
reminder that every 2 years, the board trustees are asked to complete a survey, a board self-assessment. Some of the trustees have responded, but not everyone. We set a deadline of next week, next Friday. If possible, that would be helpful, and the feedback from that would be shared at the next board meeting, if that's all right, or for the, in September.
Thank you for that, Walter, yes. Let's all get our responses in. Did everybody receive emails on that and have a link to the online
Yeah.
portal? Okay,
I'll have to
I
look.
finished it.
I don't
Great.
remember. But
okay, we can resend it if we need to. We are adjourned, thank you.
Wow, Spencer, that was impressive.